Alright, hello there, and welcome to another Starfield video. So, as the title says, today we're going to be... Thanks, Cora. Today we're going to be talking about paid mods. We've talked about it a few times on the channel, like, we've... A lot of conversations have been had in the stream, which I'm going to plug the stream. If you want to watch me kind of play Starfield and ramble about things, I stream usually Friday and Saturdays. But yeah, so... Paid modding, it's a controversial topic, you know, weirdly it's controversial. In the grand scheme of things, it's not really that controversial. But for anybody that's anybody watching this that may not be familiar with paid mods, maybe you just play Starfield offline and, you know. So paid modding was a thing that Bethesda kind of implemented initially in Fallout 4 and Skyrim, one of the various Skyrim editions. They kind of added a creation club, and the whole kind of benefit behind it was to, I believe, initially to work with specific mod authors to make paid mod related content that you could buy with kind of an in-game or a virtual currency. Now, Cora, please stop humming. So initially, it was with Fallout 4 and with Skyrim. It was kind of limited in that it was its own separate thing. It was part of the Creation Club, whereas modding, you know, normal mods were in their own little section. But with Starfield, Bethesda kind of shook up they shook up the basket, I suppose. And they basically allowed it so that anybody who is a verified creator and can prove to Bethesda that they have modding skills, either, you know, a portfolio or previous modding in Bethesda games, they can opt to make paid mods that, again, cost a virtual currency. So you basically buy a virtual currency off Bethesda, and then you use that currency to buy paid mods. Now, Bethesda themselves have sold some paid mods. There have been some questionable ones with Bethesda. I've talked about this before. We're not going to specifically talk about Bethesda, but the way it works with paid modders or with verified creators is once you buy the paid mod off them, let's say, for instance, someone puts out a weapon mod, you pay for whatever it is, and Bethesda get a cut of it. I don't know the cutting. I just know that, yeah. So the thing is, I think the reason a lot of people kind of consider it controversial is it's in the same vein of kind of microtransactions and like those sort of content. Like an example, if you look at, say, battle passes, skin packs on Call of Duty, stuff like that. Like, a lot of people kind of look at them things and they say, okay, you're selling me one singular item for a certain amount of money. And some people aren't really, you know, they're not happy with that. And I can understand why. Because with Bethesda games and with kind of single player games in general, you're kind of, the only time you will ever get your wallet out usually is when there's a DLC or an expansion, like for instance, Shattered Space. Shattered Space came out, it was, I believe, $30, €30, probably like £25, and it added a load of new content, quests, no new ship parts, but weapons, followers, a lot of cool stuff. That's $30. You think, okay, I don't mind paying that. Now, with paid mods, you're not paying as much, but you're only getting singular items. Like an example, you might see somebody selling a weapon mod, a custom weapon, for €3. You might see somebody selling a quest mod for €5. You might see somebody selling their first ever attempt at making a mod for €8. And whenever I do reviews of paid mod, which I do a lot of, there's always occasionally comments of people saying like, oh, paid mods are scams, which I think it's very dependent. I think there has been some mods out there, some paid mods, and even, you know, like some kind of free mods that you could argue, what the fuck is this? You know, obviously with paid mods, there has been some cash grabs. Not all of them. I think the vast majority aren't cash grabs. But the other kind of question, or the other kind of response a lot of people tend to say is like that the pricing of it. Now, this obviously this is very much dependent on who you are and kind of what you do. Like some people I know, like some people may like say like, oh, I could pay a $5 for a quest mod that's like 2 hours long. Like that's not even the cost of a movie ticket, and I do agree. But then you have like some people who say like €3 for a singular weapon mod. Like that, like to some people that's a lot of money, and it kind of it opens up this question, or this kind of, I suppose, not really a philosophical debate, but definitely a debate nonetheless about the kind of the pricing of paid mods. Like if we look currently, there's no requirement to my knowledge. Again, I'm not a verified creator. I don't make mods. I feel like I should have probably prefaced with that. So this is not an attempt to kind of disrespect mod authors or kind of talk shit or anything like that. This is just me, a Starfield player who enjoys the game and a creator of content. Um, but yeah, the kind of the thing with it, with the pricing and stuff, Bethesda, like I was saying, Bethesda doesn't have a specific price setup. Like some games will have a kind of a, like one of the examples, I know this is a bit pedantic, but in a, like for instance, in a game like FIFA, which is a football game, you can sell players you get for in-game currency, not real world money. But EA at the time when I used to watch it, they would have a kind of a limit of how much you can sell a specific player for. Now I don't know if this is the case currently, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that the idea was to kind of prevent people from from kind of basically getting something rare and then selling it for an absurd amount of money. Like anyone that plays football, I remember back in the day before EA used to do that. You packed like Ronaldo or Messi, you basically could sell them for real world money, And I think that was kind of why EA. So Bethesda obviously doesn't have this feature in place, and it's, in one way it's good, because it basically means that players can kind of, or creators, modders, can basically charge what they deem as fair. But where the issue tends to come up is that while a player, or while a creator, a mod author, may think that their pricing is fair, some players may disagree. Now, this isn't the first time, we've had, or people have had these conversations. Like digital items, like map packs, content, games, all that sort of stuff. There's always been a big argument about this. Like when you make something in real life, like let's say for instance, if you like paint a picture, or you make a weapon, 3D print, whatever, like you physically make it, you can sell it for a certain amount of money. But with something like digital, once you've kind of made it, anyone can kind of get access to it. We're not doing NFTs here. Like once somebody, let's say Jimmy Rings makes makes an armor mod, right? And it may take them 10 hours to make that armor mod. Once that armor mod is made and put up, anyone can buy it. It can be bought by millions of people. It could be bought by everyone, and there'd be no, mod authors don't have to constantly, like every time someone wants to buy it, they don't have to keep kind of making it, if that makes sense. It's kind of one and done. Now, obviously, they may need to update some things, but for the most part, yeah. Now, this is obviously, you see this in other things. Like, there's a big thing going forward with gaming these days about, don't pre-order and stuff. And there was a time when pre-ordering was you would pre-order because your GameStop in the middle of nowhere would only get a certain amount of copies. But you see, nowadays, pre-ordering digital games, and it's kind of like the irony, it's like the game's not going anywhere, like why do I need to pre-order the base version of the game that just is the game, and it's that same kind of argument. Now I'm not going to say that mod making is easy, or stuff like that. It's not. I create content, so I kind of have an idea of like what it, you know, like the base idea of when you're creating content. Now, obviously, I would like to think that my content is a lot easier to produce than, let's say, making a mod. But it does kind of beg the question of when a mod author makes a mod and they price it at a certain point, like, is it a fair pricing? Like, what do you guys, and this is a question for you guys, what do you guys think justifies the pricing of a mod, like, to you? Like, at what point do you think, okay, that's worth the price of what it is? I'll give my opinion in a minute. Because I think it is important, because everyone is going to have a different opinion on this. And I think you're going to have some people that will literally, you know, they're the sort of people, let's say, for instance, they have a decent job. Gaming is kind of their main hobby. They don't mind throwing, you know, maybe once, twice a week or twice a month, throwing like $5-10 to a mod author, you know, just to kind of, and that's the other kind of side of the spectrum is with mod authors in general. Some mod authors will do paid mods and then free mods and paid mods and free mods, and the people that do that, it's kind of, I always see paid mods as more of a way to endorse them. And that's kind of how I've, you know, viewed it. Like, obviously, if you're just making paid mods, it's kind of a different thing, because if you're only making paid mods, then you're kind of seeing this more as a business, you know. Obviously, with if you're doing both paid and free, you could still see the paid side as a business, but I personally would view it more as like, you know, you're trying to kind of get like, much like with donations, you know, like some people will have they'll have like links to buy me a coffee or Ko-fi or, you know, PayPal or stuff like that. But the reality with that sort of stuff is that obviously doesn't always sell, you know. Like, you could have 1,000 people, you know, download your free mod and talk to the high heavens about it, but they'll never donate, and that's just how it is, you know. Whereas with paid mods, at least it's a kind of a guaranteed, like, people see it, it's convenient. Because the other thing too with donations and stuff, especially because I feel like a good chunk of people playing this game are playing it on Xbox, probably I'd say 60 to 70%. And Xbox gamers, you know, we like things to be simple with console gaming. It's just simple, kind of plug and play. Most people aren't going to look at somebody's like link to their donation, and some people might, but most aren't. You know, it's a lot more easier to just buy your paid mod. Oh, you know, I like this mod author, probably not going to use their paid mod, but I'll buy it anyway, give them some money. But yeah, but the when it comes to, obviously, you know, again, the other side of it, when it, you know, you have some people that are perfectly fine with kind of spending money and stuff, but then you have people that don't. You have people that, let's say, for instance, like, gaming is like an outreach for them, and they enjoy modding, and or they enjoy downloading mods and stuff, but they might not have a disposable income, you know. And you may say to yourself, but Crimson, you don't have to buy paid mods, and I don't disagree. But the kind of the problem we're in with Starfield currently, and I love Bethesda to bits, you know, I've always been a big fan of Bethesda, but the only real, like, Shattered Space came out in September. That's, what's that, like, October, November, December, January, February. That's like almost, that's 5 months ago. We did get a brief little update in December, so technically 2 months ago, but it didn't add anything, you know? Like, we've been bare bones with content. Like, the first, I want to say, year of Starfield, we got very little content, and then Bethesda kind of did some stuff. And the updates have been, you know, when they add the updates, they've been substantial. But for a lot of people, you know, like, we enjoy the game, we enjoy playing the game, but I think everybody, you get to a point where you want new content. And for a lot of people, you know, modding is kind of like, it's like the gateway to new content. I personally, you know, see with a lot of specific mods, I'm like, yes, this is good. And yeah, like, and obviously Bethesda plans on playing, you know, they plan on keeping the game going, or, you know, they supposedly are going to say 10 years. Now, like, some companies usually would do a roadmap and kind of keep you updated. Bethesda kind of had initially, but they've been radio silent ever since Shattered Space, and it does make you wonder. I know that there has been updates to the Steam database, and there's been teases of stuff, but nothing concrete. I say this knowing, watch my luck, I'll upload this video and then the next day they'll be like, oh, new content, haha. But yeah, so because of that climate, you know, people are more likely to kind of spring for mods, and specifically paid mods, because paid mods have the advantageous of they have the advantage of being kind of achievement friendly. That's another thing with kind of the paid mods. Currently, the only way you can have you can earn achievements with mods is if you buy paid mods. Now, I will briefly say, and I've said this before, I think Bethesda, like, we're at the point now where like it's already set in stone. I would have liked if Bethesda just made it so that anybody who is a verified creator can release achievement friendly mods for free. Sadly, that is not the case, and realistically, that's probably not going to be the case. You tend to see an influx of lately. You've seen an influx of mods coming out for like a dollar, 100 credits, a euro, and they're just basically achievement friendly versions, paid versions of free mods, which is interesting. Like, I'm one of those people, like, I don't like I get my achievements and then I kind of, you know, I have a save that doesn't have any mods on that I use to play through the main story and all that. And I would recommend everyone have one, you know, have a mod save and then a vanilla save. But it does kind of it is kind of an interesting one when you see kind of the influx of people, and obviously a lot of people are just like they're kind of, the mod authors are just kind of doing what the fans are asking. You see a lot of people like, oh, can you do an achievement friendly version of this mod? And you know, a lot of them are doing it just because, like, okay, you know, they want that, I'll do it. There is obviously going to be some people that I think are doing it less altruistic and more to make money, which I'm not going to knock. Like, you make mod content, you know, as long as it's not as long as it's not a shit show, as they say, you know, you do you. I know there's been a few mod authors that have kind of been vehemently, I always butcher that word, against paid mods with the for the achievement friendly. The other kind of argument, and this is something that a few people have said, but there's one person in particular, X, who is a known modder, does some really nice mods, both free and paid. Is the problem with paid mods is that down the line, let's say in a year, 2 years time, let's say Starfield picks up, like, let's say the idea, like, there's been a lot of rumors about Starfield going to PlayStation, right? And let's say it goes to PlayStation, or let's say there's an influx of players and people are like looking like, okay, what you know, what mods are you using? Or like, they like, say for instance, you watch a stream of a Starfield player like myself, I occasionally get, what mods are you using? Now for me, a lot of the time I don't use too many paid mods in streams unless I'm teasing them. But there will be people that will have paid mods as part of their, you know, their load order. Like, I do have a couple, and you know, they'll be like, oh, what mods do you have? And it's like, oh, I have, you know, all of these mods. And like, when you start totting up the paid mods, you could have a load order over the price of the game, you know, a $60 load order. Like, I've probably spent over $100 on mods. Now obviously I review them, and it's kind of like, that's how I, you know, they say you got to spend money to make money. Sometimes I make money, most times I don't. No, but that's a big kind of concern, and I think that that's not like the fault of individual modders specifically, even ones that are doing just paid mods, but it's still something that I feel like more mod authors should be aware of, you know? Like, there's I'd say the vast majority of kind of, you know, the modders out there, like I said, they do a mix of paid and free mods, which I'm always for. Like, I review paid mods. I try to be as non-biased as possible. I give my opinion. It's human bias is always going to be a thing, but I try to be non-biased. But one thing I do personally look at whenever I see someone who makes just paid mods, they've never done a free mod, I do tend to look a little bit of a disdain, because the way I look at it, like, okay, this person is clearly doing it from a business point of view, which in one way I get it, you know, you got to make that money, but at the same time, it's like, modding is supposed to be kind of a, you know, like a passion project, a kind of a hobby. Like it's a kind of an amateur, not an amateur, but like, you know, like a lot of people mod because, let's say, they work in IT or they work in something similar, or maybe they don't, maybe they work in a different, and modding is just a way for them to do their kind of their creativity. Like obviously, like I do, you know, content and stuff, and I have my other stuff, but like for me, like I've always been a big fan of writing, and like I kind of see that as my kind of passion project. And so in that regard of, you know, of the kind of the paid mods versus the free mods, like it's just it's always going to be kind of, it's always going to be controversial when you look at specific mods and you're like, okay, like that person doing that paid mod, like they're just like, are they just trying to, are they trying to make money? Like, do they even play the game? Because you have, like, I, to be honest, there has been paid mods I have reviewed where they don't work, they are blatant cash grabs, and I have said it in videos. Like, I try to, I kind of, this channel, Cora, what do you do? Cora keeps pointing behind me. Like, I try to kind of operate on in a mentality when I do my videos where I never want to be overly negative. I've had videos of like reviews of mods and stuff, and I've been overly negative, and I've kind of like had to reevaluate them and kind of edit stuff. And that's not, I like, that's not because I'm trying to hide things or because I'm trying to be deceptive. It's just generally, if you ever see me not review a specific mod, there could be a chance that I haven't got to it, but there could also be a chance that I don't want to bring attention to it, because even like there's been a handful of mods I've covered where I have been very much like, this mod is a cash grab. Like, please do not purchase it. And people have purchased it. People have in the comments like, oh, I purchased it. And it's like, I don't like that, because, and then, that's the thing, is like, whenever I do like a video, like I know that like my videos, depending on them, you know, they reach, you know, some of the Starfield audience. And I would probably wager that like a good chunk of people buying paid mods is because they've seen my videos. So that's why I like try to be very cautious. Like, one example, I've said this before, I'll never touch those paid ship mods, not until, you know, there's something actually unique about them. Like if they have custom interiors, fair, but currently I just don't, I think that it's very, I think that it's a cash grab. Like, this game is all about making ships. My channel is based on making, that's what started, making ships. I make ships. Like, I make multiple ships a week in my spare time and obviously on stream. So the idea that somebody is basically making a ship and selling it, it's, yeah, like, I don't appreciate it. So that's why you'll never see me review those sort of paid mods. There's also like certain paid mods that, in my opinion, come across quite cheaty, and I've had disagreements with certain things like in the past with people, because I could review a paid mod, and let's say, like an example, there's a couple of mods I've recovered where reviewing a ship, custom like habs for a ship, and the habs will have stocked full of ammo, meds, stuff like that. And I personally don't like that, because I think in a perfect world, paid mods for Bethesda titles should be something that you could see as a vanilla entity, something that Bethesda kind of has given their blessing. And a lot of the time that is the case, not always. There's some times where, you know, it's kind of cheaty, or it kind of makes the game a little too easy. And you may say, Crimson, it's a single player game, what do you mean cheaty? And you're right. I think when everybody plays, you know, like a single player game, they kind of have standards they kind of adhere to when it comes to playing. Like, I play on PC, I use console commands on stream and stuff the whole time to do funny things and spawn stuff. But when I play myself, or when I'm doing like a proper playthrough, I won't do any of that, you know. Like, I'll earn everything the hard way. I'll spend a half an hour refreshing a vendor to try and get enough ammo so I can, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I guess I suppose I should kind of give my opinion on the pricing and stuff. I personally think that if a mod author, because when it comes to like when it comes to making mods, obviously I don't know how long it takes to make a mod. You know, like I think it varies from person to person. And I know some mods are a lot harder to do. Like I would wager that like reskinning armor, I've been told by X that reskinning armor is not too difficult. Weapon, like custom weapons and stuff, if it's just following kind of in-game animations, you know, like it's, you know, stuff like that. Again, I don't know too much about it. Quest mods I know can be quite tricky because you have to do voice acting and stuff like that, scripting a lot of stuff. But I do think that, and this is if you are a mod author and you're watching this and you do paid mods or you do think about paid mods, while you could, let's say, make a mod, let's say you make a weapon mod and you could say, I'm going to charge $4 for this mod because it took me, you know, 10 hours to make. I don't know if somebody wants to let me know in the comments, you know, like how long it's taken you to make like certain mods. I'd love, you know, I'd love the insight. But instead of, let's say, charging $4, like how low can you like realistically go? You know, like could you charge 300? Could you charge 200? 100 seems to be kind of the bare minimum of you know, like mods. And like it's always, I've always had this kind of mentality with other things, and it's, I suppose it's a little different when it's an independent person, like a single person doing a kind of a job, because like it's one person. Like an example is like you look at COD will put out a skin pack, it'll be €20, and realistically that doesn't need to be €20. Like there's probably one intern made that probably made it in 10 hours. Like that intern's making money, you know, or not, it's not really an intern, you know, like that person, whoever designed it and made it, like they're already on a wage, you know. So it's not like they need to sell a certain amount to make money. So in the case of that, it's like, why not just, you know, I've always been like, why not just sell them for like, instead of having like a $20 fucking skin pack, why not €1, you know? And while, you know, independent modders, you know, like if you know, like it's a hard one, because again, I'm not trying to tell anyone what they can do, this is just my opinion. But I do think that if you are a modder and you're making paid mods, if you can go as low as you can, like you're doing, because you're still going to make money, like realistically, if you make let's say you make an armor mod, right? And you're initially thinking, okay, armor mod was gonna maybe be charged 300, right? If you charged 100 or 200, you know, you obviously would need to, because the thing is like, this is something I kind of learned when I used to do kind of crafting and stuff. Like it's hard to kind of tot up like your time put into it, you know, because you could argue like as a modder, like okay, like took me 10 hours to make that weapon, my skill level charged like realistically 20, I would charge €20 an hour if I was doing it for like, you know, like somebody like a kind of a project. So that's like what the mod itself could cost 200, not taking into account if you did have to pay a voice actor or you had to pay for external assets, and I do get that. But if, let's say for instance, a mod cost you about $200 to make, and you think, okay, if I charge a $5 for the mod, we won't like worry about the cut, because I don't know the cut of Bethesda. Let's say realistically you make from that $5, let's say you make €3. Let's say Bethesda get like a 30% cut or whatever, 40% cut. You would need to sell what, €3, you need to sell, let's say you need to sell about 100, right, to kind of break even. But obviously if you lowered it, if you had it for $1, so like, you know, you'd need to sell substantially more, you need to sell 3 times as much. But I feel like more people would buy, you know, like obviously, like again, I buy, you know, I'll review a lot of paid mods, and I've always been like, it's because the thing too is like it's a psychological thing, you know. It's like why if you look at mobile games, they'll have like bundles, like oh, for like €1 you can get all this shit, and it's psychological, but it works, you know. You think you see a specific price, and you're like, that's a quite low price, I feel like I'm getting value for it. Obviously, again, this is just an opinion piece. I'm not trying to say, you know, people like mod authors, you guys do what you gotta do. This is just Crimson, somebody who has, you know, like I do the content, I talk to a lot of different people, I read your comments and stuff. So I have a decent kind of understanding of the general kind of use of Starfield and stuff in general. But I do think that there should be, and this is where I think there should be some changes with how the kind of the system of paid mods work. Like I've started reviewing both Xbox and PC when it comes to reviews, and so far it's been pretty straightforward. There's been one or two weapons that have been a bit finicky. Um, One or two items as well that have been a bit finicky, and like I've spoken to some of the mod authors and I've seen comments and stuff, and you know, it's some mod authors will obviously they'll be like, oh, I don't have an Xbox, so I can't, you know, test that. Thank you for testing that. To which I will always refer back to my other video where I talked about paid mods, and I do think if you are a paid modder, because I know Bethesda has like a QA quality assurance where like whenever you put a paid mod, you got to put up when they check it. In the past, I have noticed when reviewing mods, people used to send me their mods to check out, send me like the latest version, and I would find issues that Bethesda had kind of missed. And again, that's not on Bethesda, because with bugs can happen. You know, you could have thousands of people running QA, but that doesn't mean they're going to catch everything. And generally speaking, as long as like if an attachment doesn't work the way it should, you know, but the weapon functions, or like character maybe has, you know, animation doesn't work but the quest still functions, you know, generally if it's, as long as it's not game breaking, you know, you're fine with it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a long ramble, I know, but I just wanted to say it just because I feel like it needs to be said. Obviously, let me know your guys' opinion. Let me know, like, you know, you modder, have you done paid mods? Are you just a consumer of the content? Do you just like using mods? Like, let me know, like, what, like, again, like, what do you think justifies the price for you? You know, like, let me know some mods that you think have been, like, you think are worth the price. And there have been some bangers out there that have been 110% worth the price. There's also been mods, in my opinion, I don't think are worth the price. But yeah. So hopefully didn't offend too many people. They haven't been blacklisted by all of the mod. No, I'm joking. But yeah, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and catch you in the next one. Bye bye.